Hello, welcome to another episode of the Aleph Zero podcast, during which we'll look into the ecosystem funding program. I'm Moczurad and I'll be your host, and I'll be joined by Magda Oleksy, the ecosystem lead, and Piotr Moczurad, ecosystem tech lead. They have been overseeing this project, vetting candidates, and providing them with all the support they need to build their projects on Aleph Zero network. And we are recording this just past the ETH Warsaw, which was quite an important event for us. So, guys, how it's been? We can start with you, Magda.
It's been great. It's like our second time we go to Warsaw for ETH, and absolutely, this is one of the best events in Poland when it comes to the industry. So, like starting from some silly things such as the building, the venue of the conference, which is a beautiful building of the Polytechnics in Warsaw, through things such, I don't know, great food and coffee, and just it all adds up, creating a beautiful atmosphere for networking, for meeting new people, new projects. So again, we were super happy with the conference. So also big thumbs up for the organizers. And this year was special because we decided that instead of having an Aleph Zero booth during the event, we want to focus a bit more on our ecosystem, on the projects that we accepted to the EFP that we are working with. And we decided to have an ecosystem booth. And how it worked is that we had, I think, 8 teams that joined us throughout the whole event, and they were just simply rotating and having turns by the booth. And the whole idea was just to, give them some exposure, give them possibility to actually meet new people, meet new projects, meet each other, meaning other builders from the ecosystem, because they are from different countries, different cities in Poland as well. So they don't have that many opportunities to actually meet each other in person. So that was, I think, a great option for them. And it worked out well, I think. Everybody was happy. Some of the projects, are at a still pretty early stage, so they cannot either afford traveling to conferences, or simply they just don't want to focus on that yet because it's too early. So if we make it possible for them, I think it's a great opportunity to actually start talking about the project to people and get some exposure. So that was definitely a nice thing about ETH. And also another thing is that this year we organized the opening party called Zero Proof. And that was another, I think, success, because apart from sharing the booth with our ecosystem projects, we also invited them to the party. And we invited them, obviously, not just to have a drink, but we invited them to prepare something special for people who came to the party. So they prepared some competitions, some games, so that people could even win something, get some swag, and also talk to the builders. So I think that was a good idea, and definitely we are planning to repeat that. So every time we are going to a conference where we actually have booth, then we want to invite some projects from the EFP to stay there with us and meet people and get that experience, because I think attending events it's a very interesting and needed experience as well if you want to stay in the industry. So all in all, ETH Warsaw, I think it's one of my favorite events, and I think the whole team really liked it. I don't know, Peter, did you like it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've heard it was packed there.
Yeah. One of the best events. But actually, what I liked the most was the hackathon, because I think this year the teams went just above and beyond, and we've seen some of the best submissions, both in terms of like the sheer number of them, but also in terms of quality and usability and usefulness. So can I tell you quickly about the projects?
Please do.
Amazing. So the winners were the team behind the Smart Beaver, as they called it. And it's simply let's call it a creator or like a no-code solution for creating ink smart contracts. So you basically, something you can see also in, for example, OpenZeppelin. You can basically choose your token type, say PSP22, and then choose some additional properties, and the creator will generate the code for you, and you can just paste it into your project or choose to build it there and just download the artifacts. Anyway, very, very helpful for,
Yeah,
both
and
beginners and...
when we spoke earlier, you said that also the code quality was really great there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially for a, 2-day hackathon.
Yes, definitely. It's amazing how much they can get done in just, a little over 2 days. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So what were the other projects?
Oh, yeah. The second place was called TCP, which the acronym is actually a bit funny in Polish, but let's say it's a smart contract control drink dispenser. So, the guys use the Raspberry Pi because this year we've had this idea of providing some of the hardware so that the teams can do some very fun and tangible projects. And it actually paid off because, they used the Raspberry Pi. They bought like a small liquid pump, and basically built a drink dispenser, which they then subsequently used to serve drinks to all of the other participants, which was kind of a nice touch.
Sounds awesome. We should definitely use that in the future.
Oh yeah.
Next party, I think we should just invite them for
Yeah, smart contract party.
Oh yeah, we will. I already reached out to them. Yeah, we wanna license this.
All right. So this is the second one. And what were the others?
Oh, sure. We also had this basically idea of token gating Discord channels. If you're a holder of a certain token, then you can get in, which is super useful, and we definitely want that in the ecosystem. And then this app called Handshake, which is used to basically boost social interactions on events such as ETH Warsaw by rewarding you for basically having real life person-to-person interactions.
And in terms of just the hackathon attendance and Aleph Zero bounties, how popular was Aleph Zero there?
Oh, I think it was the most popular project, and not only by virtue of having the highest bounty, but also the number of submissions was. We've had 11 submissions out of 40 projects total. So if you do like a quick, statistical averaging, we were definitely above average for a project, which is great. And I think this is part of our basically brand in Poland. We are recognized by pretty much everyone in Poland. So yeah, it's great to see that.
Yeah, and we actually had a success story the last time at ETH Warsaw, right? We had A0ID, and I think Syncra also came from the last ETH Warsaw, wasn't it?
Actually, I believe Syncra was Hack on Chain in Berlin, and A0ID was the great project
but
from
definitely
Warsaw.
hackathons are the place where you can find really good teams, which would then produce some nice projects. So how did they actually transition from hackathon entry to enrolling into EFP, and then as A0ID did it in the recent weeks and launching successfully on the mainnet? So what were the steps they went through with us?
Oh yeah, I can tell you about the first part. So from the hackathon to an actual submission, and then Magda probably can explain much better about the rest. So in both cases, basically the teams had a really good idea from the start. Of course, every time a team starts building something on a hackathon, we really encourage them to discuss the idea with us so that we can fine tune it. But both teams actually had really great ideas from the get go, and which actually didn't require that much fine tuning by us. So then they proceed to build the project, and when the judgment day comes at the hackathon, we've basically seen two, well, in case of Israel ID and Syncra, amazing submissions that we immediately could see how you can turn that into a fully functioning product, and it was pretty obvious that the teams had great, both coding skills, but also execution and business skills. So we then basically encourage the projects to check out the ecosystem funding program, and apply there. And this is where Magda comes in with her magic.
Yeah. So Magda, how do you work your magic? But so basically, what we have after the hackathon is that we know that the team is talented, that the team can produce quality content, probably has some nice idea for the product, and then what should they do?
Yeah, so basically the process afterwards is pretty much the same for all the teams. So it doesn't have to be a team that comes from Hackathon, although if it does, then the added value is that we have already met the team and we've talked to them, and we see that they have potential, they are a talented team, and they are capable of delivering some interesting projects. But then, anyways, cutting out the hackathon part, and then the process is basically the same, meaning that the team has to fill out the application form. What is most important for us in there is the description of the project, obviously, and the division into milestones. So the roadmap, so what they are going to work on, what is the scope, how they will be delivering the project. So the set milestones, and then obviously the grant that they need, and possibly some other things that they may need from us, because as probably was said before and is also written in the description of our EFP focuses not only on grants, but mainly on just incubating the projects and supporting them on many different levels. So once we get the application, we know what they are looking for, we know what is their plan, what they want to deliver. We just have the grant committee meeting, we discuss it in a broader team, and then we either simply accept the project because everything in there looks great and we agree with everything, or to be honest, more often we just have a meeting with the team. We give them our feedback. Sometimes together with them we decide on some small changes in the scope. Maybe we suggest something, maybe together we decide to add something, extract something, and so on and so forth. And once we agree on the final shape of the project, then the grant agreement is signed and the project can start, and we obviously are there to support it. So that's the standard process. With the projects that we discussed, so with A0ID, for example, our job was easy because they had a precise idea that they came in with at the hackathon. So later on, they just added some things into it. We had a discussion with them. We gave our feedback. There were a couple of tweaks and changes, and that's it. And then we could just, observe them and have our hearts grow, because A0ID is like extremely talented and hardworking team. So also this year was special because A0ID team was there with us at the booth, and they were after the mainnet launch, which happened around 2 weeks ago. So they could tell about their project and actually show it to people and show it to the community. And also they were with us during the hackathon, meaning that there were people actually using their technology to build something. They were like mentoring the people. They were giving bounties. So in a year from just, some young hackers with an idea, they went through the whole path and the whole journey to become the hackathon mentors. So this was like really great to see. And we really hope that, they were the first ones to go through this path, but there will be more projects succeeding and blooming like they did. So that was definitely a highlight of the event.
Yeah, we need more of teams like that.
Absolutely.
So we get the snowball effect, basically. But I also wanted to touch upon the question that some of the community members might have, and that's to you, Piotr. Like, what do we get from all those hackathons that we are participating in, or we are, sponsoring the bounties and so on? What's our goal here? Because it's more than just, getting projects to apply to EFP or having anything built.
Oh, definitely. Well, so first of all, it's a great opportunity for developers and teams to just play with A0, right? It's not yet about business, about revenue. It's just about having fun with the code and seeing what cool things you can do with the A0 blockchain. Actually, the first thing they notice is, damn, this is fast. Like it's really useful for the devs, and so this is one thing, right? And I would say it's a very organic way to build a community and to reach out, because one thing is going like one biz dev team to another, and then the deals are made and so on. This is of course amazing, but like for me as a developer, or former developer, whatever, it's really heartwarming to see how we can do this bottom up and engage devs and engage young people and just show them cool stuff, and then them showing us cool stuff that they built using the technology that we work on. So it's this great synergy, and yeah, definitely worth investing in hackathons.
Yeah, and they also have the opportunity to showcase what they've got, right? What are their skills?
Oh yeah, definitely. Also, it's actually great for the teams to form, right? So you're gonna have great devs, you're gonna have great designers, you're gonna have great, I don't know, even salesmen, and they, otherwise they might not have met one another, and this way they meet and they come up with an amazing project. So
Yeah, and also probably what you meant here is that, for example, you could have, I don't know, 4 different teams building projects on hackathon, but then after the hackathon, maybe they form, the 5th one, and then
oh yeah,
build something really successful, right?
yeah. I would say that's a recurring theme that we try to basically unite, not divide, right? So
Yeah.
it's good for the teams to support each other, and if we will see that basically 2 people will benefit from forming one team, then awesome, right? It's gonna be better than the sum of its parts.
It's kind of like a networking event for people interested in Aleph Zero, and where they can already show their skills, right, before they go out.
Yeah, pretty much.
with their stuff. All right, so let's switch gears a bit and check in on what the EFP has been up to recently, Magda.
Yeah. So we've been working hard, I think, because there's there's so many applications and so many interesting projects that it's not an easy job to choose what the best ones or the ones that are the best for the ecosystem. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So we launched the EFP, I think, what was it, April?
April.
Yeah.
Right.
So now it's been 6 months. And during that time, we have received, I actually counted that prior to the podcast, but because I have already lost count, but we received nearly 200 applications. So 200 different projects. So, you can imagine that being a team of the grant committee consists of 8 people. And then obviously we have some industry experts advising us and so on. So everybody has to read the application, go through that. We have a lot of discussions. We have a lot of feedback giving sessions and so on. So after all that, out of those 200, we have accepted 35 projects to the EFP. So currently there are 35 projects building. And even though we obviously keep on getting new applications, we also try to focus quite a lot on the currently building projects because they require our support and our attention as well. So now, it is busy because we have new projects, we have existing projects that are building, but it's all very inspiring and very interesting. And it's definitely, as I said, not an easy job to choose the projects that will finally be accepted. But what is interesting is that, the further we go, maybe not the easier it gets, but the better we understand what is needed for the ecosystem, the better we understand how to talk to the teams and, what support they need as well. And also we learned that sometimes there are some great teams and, we are looking for great projects, but we are also looking for great and talented teams. And what I mean by that is that sometimes, and it doesn't happen that rarely, that there is an interesting application from a great team, but the project itself, even though it's okay, it's not really something that is super needed in the ecosystem right now. So also what happens is that we don't reject that team from the EFP. Sometimes we just jump on a call and have a discussion, and sometimes we stick to the team, but we just suggest maybe a different project, or together with them we decide, how to shape it up. And this applies also to the hackathon talk that you had before, because we also get some applications from the teams that participated in the hackathon. They didn't win any prizes, unlike A0AD or Syncra that we mentioned, but they were there. And then they come back with an application of something completely different, and the application get accepted. So we did have those cases as well. So yeah, so to sum up, a lot is happening. We constantly get new applications. We are also working with the teams that are already accepted in the EFP, and we hope to proceed that way. I mean, it's further into the program. As we already have those 35 projects, we are a bit more selective maybe, because we do want to have a variety of projects in the EFP. But we're still looking for some gems in there.
Yeah.
I don't know, Pete. I think from technical perspective, maybe some insights.
From the gem hunting.
Oh yeah. Well, one point to make is that what we do is, it's a very conscious shaping of the ecosystem, and it's not all about DeFi, right? Because you think smart contracts and you immediately think DeFi, but we're going a little broader than that, because we also try to take care of our developers, because for example, Ink is a pretty new ecosystem, so we are trying to somehow give back and also have teams building great tooling for developers. One example from the top of my head would be this static analysis tool for smart contracts. So basically, the idea is that you run it and it tells you, whether your contract has any security vulnerabilities, right? So, of course, this is not an audit, but this is something incredibly helpful and actually can teach you to become a better developer as a result. So yeah, actually, the smart beaver that came to be at the hackathon, well, that's an example of great developer tooling that, fingers crossed, is going to be in the EFP soon. We'll see.
Tooling is especially important, right? Because in Solidity you have everything, because it's so popular. Maybe I'm wrong, because you're looking at me like I'm wrong.
No, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
you do have everything.
So you have everything there, and in Ink we kind of have to recreate that, right? So
yeah, I mean, but parts of that. Some of it is not needed because Ink is different. I'm not going to say better, but it's a bit different.
Yeah, it has some advantages, and But yeah, so you guys are getting all the milestones from the teams. So where are we with most of them in terms of the development?
The development. You're looking at me. Okay. Yeah. Well, development. So obviously, some of the teams are. Well, one of the teams has already launched to mainnet the fantastic A0 ID. Shout out to them. We also have some projects that are being audited right now. We also have some projects that are either launched to testnet already or are getting ready to launch. So, like, for example, ABAX, the lending protocol, is live on testnet.
Can you tell us like the order of magnitude there? Is it like 3 teams, 4 teams at the close to being on the testnet?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
And I think the thing to keep in mind here is that basically smart contracts, but especially DeFi applications, are not something you want to rush, right?
Of course.
It's not like an, say, e-commerce site that you can say, okay, let's have this out on production soon. Here, you really need to be, conscious, diligent, and
don't make any shortcuts. Basically.
Oh yeah, no shortcuts, definitely.
All right, so yeah, it's good to hear, because some of the projects actually in the EFP don't go through the testnet and audit phase, right? Some, like for example, tooling, we just need to have that, right?
Oh yeah, well, that of course depends on what's the nature of the project. If it's just like I don't know, yeah, some tooling for developers doesn't necessarily have to go through an audit.
And there are also the teams that are doing really the heavy lifting, right? Like Darkverse. So it's.
Oh yeah,
it will take some time to build the full product, right? They will have the demo earlier, I think Q1 24.
Oh yeah, well, what they do is basically creating a whole world, a whole universe.
So it's good thing.
But if you look at the team behind it, they do know how to build games and how to tell stories. So
especially
it's gonna be amazing.
This thing. So yeah, we really are looking forward to having Darkverse on the mainnet or even testnet.
I'll just actually settle for a demo I can play.
Yeah.
Testnet, mainnet. Let me play.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the actual help that projects are getting in the EFP. So, in concrete terms, right?
Yeah, I know we talk a lot about the different levels of support and how important that is, but it actually is. So that definitely needs some underscoring here, because grant programs are popular, let's say. Many different projects give grant programs, but how we structured it is that obviously grants are there because the teams need some funds. They are early on their way, so they need financial support. But what we believe is even more important than just money is, first of all, the expertise that we can share with them, the expertise like because we obviously went through that from zero to hero, maybe not hero yet, but hopefully on the way there. But we did go through that way ourselves as a project. So we, at least obviously it's a very dynamic industry and many things change, but there are some things that don't, and there are some, things that people can avoid, that people can do better or do more. And so if we have that advice, we share that with the teams. We have some industry experts that can share their knowledge as well in different verticals, so that can be useful as well. And apart from that expertise and that mentoring per itself, we also have a network of partners who help the project. So whether they need, for example, some brainstorming about the product, or they need some technical discussions. So that can be done either by our team, so the Aleph Zero team, or, for example, we can connect them with, let's say, Properly Studio, who are a great design studio helping with branding, with designs, with product design, and so on. We have Serotonin that can help when it comes to marketing and to PR, and can advise in that field. We work with Kudelski Security when it comes to security audit. We are in the AWS Activate program, which allows the projects to get some free credits for the AWS, right? So those are some precise things that we bring to the table. Obviously, I mean, different projects need different things. So before we suggest, what's the best for them, we have a discussion, we discover what they need, and obviously they don't need everything at once. At the beginning, they usually have just discussions with our team. Then when the code is ready, we reach for the audits. Then when the product is like close to launching, then we have Serotonin jumping in, for example, or our marketing team as well helping out. So it is there, and we think that, like, if you add up those things, those services, those like ways of supporting them, it all together is equally important, if not more important, than the grant itself. And what we also do, we want to just look at ourselves, at our project, and we try to find the things that helped us on the way. So even initiatives such as the ecosystem booth at ETH Warsaw, right? That was something that we think, okay, so this is a great way to give some exposure to the projects and make them also meet other builders, which is super important as well. So we also organize things like that, some maybe Twitter spaces, or some, when it comes to marketing, some shared announcements and stuff like that. Podcasts, I think there were, like, for example,
Yes.
we had some projects, right? So more to come for sure in the future. So all the things together, I think that hopefully creates a nice bag of tools, and that will help them actually build the project.
It's somewhat an incubator, right? And I think it's important to also note the context of it, right? Because the founders are mostly, like, in general, it's not a secret that crypto is attracting mostly younger generations, right?
Yeah,
And they need that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, it doesn't mean that everybody who applies, it's just young and unexperienced, but there are teams like that, like building their first project. So there, the help is really needed, because they just, for example, they know the tech side great, and they're able to write amazing code or like great white papers and have great ideas. But when it comes to the business side, they just don't know where to start from. So in those cases, the help is definitely needed. But also we have some maybe experienced teams that come from maybe slightly different industry, or they have built a product some time ago, but maybe now they want to change something in that because it wasn't very successful, and now they would need some new, inspiration, some different approach. So yeah, and as I said, the industry is very tricky and very dynamic, and it's still pretty new. So I think if a project wants to succeed, it's it can be slightly hostile and difficult. So I think the support and some people who deal with the same things on everyday life, like every day, and went through the same path. I think that's really needed and helpful.
Yes, and long term, what we are probably aiming to do here is basically helping them in founding successful startups, right? Who will then bring traffic, bring more users to Aleph Zero. So
Yeah, obviously, and we really want them to succeed, because building a product just to build it and that's it. I mean, nobody needs that. So we actually want them to be visible and especially gain users and be used by people.
okay, and with all this help, what has been the result of this so far? Are there any particular use cases that you'd like to mention here?
Well, I kind of already did actually, but definitely. So once again, A0 ID launched on the mainnet, and the reception has been quite great, and it's a great product. Like I tried using it. It's super seamless, super easy.
Even in terms of Web2, right? But yeah, let's stop maybe shilling A0 ID.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can we can actually shill our own chain. It's basically, in terms of Web2, yeah, it's basically as fast as Web2 solutions, which is great. So yeah, like mentioned previously, ABAX launched on the testnet, but also in a completely different area. Interlock's Threads Layer plugin now has 40,000 users, which grew from 3,000, and yeah, this is great. When basically our ecosystem projects user base grows, our user base grows, which is great.
Especially like Interlock getting to 40K, and when Aleph Zero users, or at least wallets, is at like nearing 70K, that's really a lot. And it's definitely not only Aleph Zero users, right? So
oh yeah,
so they will come.
yeah. I'm actually, you cannot see me, but I mean, you, Matt, you can, but I'm wearing a Threads Layer shirt right now. Shout out to my man Andrew from Interlock. Thank you for the shirt.
That's a cool shirt.
Yes, it is. Magda, you take it away.
Yeah, I don't wear this shirt, but I do have it as well. So I confirm it's a great shirt. Yeah, and when it comes to results, what else? I mean, a lot of startups are right now also either raising or they have closed a pre-seed or seed rounds. So this is an important milestone as well.
Beyond the EFP, right?
Yes. Because the grants are there, but obviously you cannot build the whole product and then push it further with just a grant. So obviously, eventually the seed rounds are needed, because what we aim to do with EFP is to give the teams tools to build something that later on can be gain users and be good enough to organize the funding rounds. So a lot of projects are going through that right now. And also what is important maybe, and we didn't mention that before, we help with that as well. So we do have Piotr in our team, not this Piotr sitting next to me, but another one who is helping with the contacts and introductions to different VCs and advising on how to build your pitch deck properly and stuff like that. So in that area we provide help as well. And what else? I think what is also important, and we're super proud of that, is that the builders are actually starting to work together. So I think we have built a pretty solid group of builders that support each other, that they plan how to use their products together, how to connect them and so on. So every team that is accepted to the EFP is then automatically added to, we have like a Telegram group for all the builders, so everybody's added there, and we see that the group is really growing and being super active. So we see that connection and some, hopefully some contacts that will last longer than just a couple of months in the EFP, but we see a lot happening there, and this is this is great, and this is super important, because also one of the reasons why we created the EFP is the growth of the ecosystem, and by connecting people together, we think that should allow that.
Yeah, like anything that the Aleph Zero Foundation does, it's basically foundation is obliged to grow the ecosystem, right? But beyond that, what what does the EFP bring to the ecosystem? Of course, growth, but in what specific ways?
Okay, yeah, real talk time.
Yeah, let's do the real talk.
It's come to that. Okay. Well, basically, our job is to kind of look for and select projects that bring real value to the ecosystem, and this is gonna sound like a terrible cliche, but like change the world for the better. Um, so it's not like just maximizing revenue or stuff like that, but really about the value added. And so another thing is basically we are looking for more than just copies of projects from other ecosystems. So of course, if something has been successful on another chain, chances are it's going to be successful on our chain as well. So this is a very good source of inspiration. But actually, with our chain's quite unique value proposition, you can make it into something even more, into something
Yeah, you
even
can take
better.
a project from other ecosystem and then build it here, and then turns out it's better here, right?
Yeah, essentially. Other than that, we really try to listen to the community, because there's one thing what we think is beneficial for the ecosystem, for the network, for the users, and another thing is, well, oftentimes they align, but we also try to like listen to the community's voice, like what
Yeah.
they need, what is wanted also.
Okay, so this is like listening to the community and getting their feedback on what is needed here. So of course, even if it's not visible at first, it's definitely it will be visible as the projects come into light, right?
Oh yeah.
And beyond that, when it comes to just the code base, I know you've been preaching that a lot, the open source parts of the submissions.
Oh yes, this is actually one of the requirements. So we have a set of, well, let's say, guidelines or even rules when it comes to delivering the project, submitting the code base. So we require the projects to make their code bases open source, and especially when it comes to smart contracts, right? Because if I, as a user, want to interact with a contract, I definitely want to be able to read its code. It's like when you think about entering in a contract, a legal contract, you definitely want to read it.
Yeah, but you need to be a developer for that. But just the case that it's open source, it means that other developers can
Definitely, yeah.
do that.
You can ask your developer friend, or you can check on some online forum or Discord. Someone already has read that, right? If there was I don't know, a backdoor or a red flag, then they would notice it. And of course, we do trust our projects, and they are great teams, but it's a part of a larger good practice and something
Yes.
we basically want to inspire other teams to do as well.
Yeah, because Alef0 is also open source, right?
Yes, it is.
And
And very transparent.
Yeah, and beyond that, what if for any reason they can't really go open source, or at least not at the beginning?
Well, so the open source requirement is basically for launching on mainnet. So before that, it's okay to keep the code closed source, like cards close to your chest.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, this is mainly about the smart contracts, right? The smart contracts will end up being public on the chain anyway. So it's not like by making them secret you're gaining any business edge or something like that. If you also have like some Web 2 logic, then I think it's okay to keep that closed source. I mean, ideally everything would be open source because that's the most transparent way. But yeah, this is especially important for smart contracts.
But the open source paradigm is also important for learning, right? The other projects can learn from what's been built.
Oh yeah. You can use this as a source of inspiration, as a source of as a learning opportunity to see the good practices.
Especially if Ink is early still.
Yes.
Okay, so we know what EFP is all about, how it works, and what were the projects we supported so far, and what's on the horizon. Like, what are the plans for the futures for the program?
Well, I mean, for now, the program continues. I mean, we are still getting some new applications, reviewing them, and looking for some brilliant projects. However, like as I might have mentioned before, we really want to focus on the projects that are already in the EFP, so the 35 projects that are currently building. So for now, we are switching our focus a bit to the projects that are accepted, because as we said, there are many things that they need support with, and we want to make sure that we have enough time and just capacity to give them that time to give them the mentoring and that they need. So we closed 2 cohorts of applications of new projects, and that adds up to those 35 projects. I mean, we still are going to, as I said, we are still going to accept new projects, maybe a bit less of them, because first of all, as I also said before, we became a bit more selective, meaning that we don't want to have, if we have already, let's say, for example, 2 lending protocols that are currently being built, we don't want to have 5 more before at least those 2 go to mainnet, and we are sure that, you know, they can just go forward on their own. So if somebody comes to us with an application of, you know, very interesting project, something that brings incredible value to the ecosystem, or if that's an, you know, infrastructure or tooling that is needed for our builders, or if it's crucial for the growth of one of the verticals, I mean, we are always open for that kind of project. So our support will be there. In the future, probably we will change a little bit the EFP and convert it into venture program, meaning that as Aleph Zero Foundation will be investing in the new projects rather than just giving grants, just to make sure that the program is sustainable. And also we are planning to launch a mini grant program that will be more widespread, meaning that we'll just be giving more smaller grants than just, you know, 2-3 big grants to the projects, because now, as you probably saw on our website, we have 3 tiers of grants. So there are like small, medium, and big grants. So we want to focus on smaller ones to be able to give support to bigger number of teams. And what is definitely not going to change is, you know, the incubation aspect of that. So we want to make sure that our partners are there, our team is there, and all the projects can just, you know, get different levels of support. Saying that for the 10th time, but I think this is super important. So you know, some changes, but the EFP stays, and whether that's whatever the form will be, I mean, the teams can be sure that they can, if they are planning to build on Aleph Zero, and if they have good idea and they want to become a part of the ecosystem, we are here with our arms wide open.
Yeah, it's more like a development of the program, right? Or it's
exactly.
It's maturing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I think that's all I had for you today. I don't know if you would like to share some words of your wisdom, guys, for the founders applying to the EFP.
I can share some words of wisdom. I would say take your time, like from a nerd's perspective, you know, make sure the code is correct, especially if you're coming from Web 2. It's a very different landscape where the code seems easy, but seems simple, and the code base is pretty small, but it's actually very, very crucial to get it right.
Yeah.
Right? And you usually have just one shot to get it right on the mainnet. So be very careful, spend a lot of time testing, don't rush things, and and let us help you if you're in the EFP.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you, Magda and Piotr, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us here.
Yeah, great to have you here. I bet we will meet at some point again. Maybe it sounds like a threat, but yeah, let's do that.
We're gonna slay the threat.
Let's slay the threat. All right, as always, I encourage our listeners to like, subscribe, and leave reviews for our podcast. It means really a lot to us and gives us the visibility. And see you next time on the Aleph Zero podcast.